Hello everybody, it's time to start. My name is Seiko Kuik, I'm from RIA and I'm your host this evening because Lauri is on vacation, so you have to deal with me. We have today's show is packed, so I'm not gonna talk long about different topics. It's important to know that this is the final cyber meetup of this season. The next cyber meetup will be in October. The date, we're gonna let you know later what's the certain date gonna be. We don't know yet. But in the meantime, hit up your phone, scan the QR code and give us feedback about the cyber meetup till now so we can make the cyber meetup better. So take your minutes and give us feedback. But let's go to the show. First up, we're going to talk about what's going on in the cyberspace. And for that, we have CERT-EE's cyber expert, Joosep Juhanson. And he's going to talk about what CERT-EE sees that's going on in Estonian cyber landscape. After that, we have Master Sergeant Kristo from Estonian Cyber Command. And he's going to talk about cyber conscription in Estonian Defense Forces. On the heels of Kristo, we have topics about cyber insurance. First up, Ratnik, attorney at the law firm called WIDEN, is going to talk about cyber insurance. After that, we have Helen Evert, cyber insurance specialist at IIZI. And we're going to round up this event with Martti Kebbinau, who's going to talk about BSides InfoSec event. So we have a lot of topics to cover, and Joosep, the floor is yours.
Hello. Good evening. So I'm Joosep. I work at CERT for over 5 years, almost coming to 6. And I started from the monitoring, and now I moved up to an expert. So for starters, I'm going to start by defining who are our customers or the constituency. The primary ones are the state institutions, local authorities, government, the operators of essential services, water, electricity, heating, all that. Then we have the digital service providers and the critical infrastructure. Now, on the secondary or best effort basis, that when we are not dealing with a crisis or a big issue with the first group, then we also give our best to help the private sector. Why this is kind of noteworthy, depending on the country, especially in the larger countries, there's actually several CERTs in the same country that have divided areas of responsibility. For example, there's usually a government CERT, there's a private sector CERT, and then further there might be a essential service provider CERT and all those. So a good benefit of that is we get a pretty good visibility on what's happening in Estonia overall. So I'm going to speak about these a bit more closely, but on a glance, DDoS, it's become very politically motivated because, as everyone knows, it's a main tool of Russia to use whenever someone says something they don't like. They usually retaliate to make it, to let everyone know that they did not like that. I will not stop on that too much because it's been talked a lot. So ransomware, that is quite rare. It's a lot more technically inclined attack, and usually the damage is a lot higher for it. Then we have the generic mass phishing attacks. These will continue in perpetuity, at least until we get rid of email. Then we might have some chance of getting rid of some of the volume of those. But they are always a precursor to some bigger attack. They are used to gain a foothold in a company, and it's usually a very large volume attack. It doesn't, when it's targeted, it's quite rare and part of larger operations that I will touch upon a bit later. Then we have the CEO fraud and business email compromise. I will have examples of those in a moment. Smishing and spam calls, while CERT-EE does not directly deal with those, they are quite a nuisance. They have become a lot more popular recently. But I can tell you that much, that the police and border guard is working on a solution for that. And some of our, for example, Finland has implemented a sort of solution that took down a lot of the volume, about 90% of the phishing and smishing email messages. And finally, I will talk about the advanced persistent threat actors, which are quite often state-backed. So, as I promised, the first one is a typical example of a business email compromise. It is quite ingenious, honestly, because instead of just getting access to someone's email and sending out massive phishing emails or whatever, they actually monitor what comes to that email, and if they hit someone in the financial department or someone dealing with the bills, that's the jackpot. Because they don't make their presence known, they usually write some email filters. For example, if there's an email coming with invoice, they make a filter that automatically forwards that email to a third-party email account that is under the attacker's control. Then they make the second rule to delete the email in the victim's inbox. So now they actually see when a bill is incoming. What they do is they change the bill to a new banking credentials, and then they try to make a similar account to the original one that sent it and send that account to the victim. Or for example, if the victim is sending their own invoice to a third-party partner, they actually intercept that email and send it to the partner instead. So it's quite hard to notice, but well, fortunately, the finance people that work in the finance departments are usually the most receive the most trainings, and they do actually manage to notice it, because quite often the account that the email came from is a bit different. And also they usually are trained to always ask about any change in the banking credentials. The damages of those kinds of attacks are usually in the hundreds of thousands. And secondly, there's the CEO fraud. That is a lot less effort. You basically just need to find the chief financial account email address in a company. Quite often you can find it openly on the website or whatever. Maybe read the news, Google something, they've said something. Then you just make a very similar email account to the CEO, and you send a usually a very short letter conveying urgency that can we make a usually the sums are 20 to 40,000. Can we make a transfer right now? This is fast, we need to do it. And this is a good example that they add pressure to it. Usually with all the phishing attacks and things, the first thing that they try to do is pressure you, especially with these scams where they actually call you or start communicating with you. Usually when a person takes a deep breath, thinks about it, then he starts seeing that it's a bit iffy. So for example, sorry, this is in Estonian, but this is an example that we got in RIA. Margus Noorma was our Director General at that moment, and this was sent to the financial department. It says basically, good morning, what is our account status? Can we make a payment of 40,000? Then it's misspelled greetings and signature. But here is an example of the business email compromise that they took the invoice off and just changed some of the banking info. So next up we have the ransomware. This is actually quite often a part of a cyber criminal ecosystem. It is not always carried out by the one and same group. Quite often it is actually goes that there is a first group that specializes in gaining foothold or accesses. They either do it with the phishing emails, scanning for security vulnerabilities, especially the remote desktop protocol. That is always a favorite. I think one of my favorite examples was someone, an IT guy was doing a quick transfer of a backup, and then he opened a RDP connection during I think it was 4 p.m. He left it open because it was a really big transfer, and when he came back in the morning at 9 o'clock, he found out that the server was already encrypted. So they work fast. RDP connection, as soon as you open, they always scan for that. But in general, these attacks are quite sophisticated. Usually when the attacker gains foothold, they spend a bit of time. First priority is to actually understand where you are, what company are you dealing with. Is it a big company? Then it might actually be worth it to put a lot of effort into it. And since we have been speaking about backups, quite a few companies at least have backups. Now the attacker has to find the backup if he wants the money. So they actually spend effort on that. And sometimes I think I have seen the first sign of threat actor activity in like months before they actually carried out the ransomware attack, because they made a full scope of the system. So that is quite often this third point also, that, as I said, a lot of companies do have backups, but they do not regularly actually test the backup. So quite often they think, oh, we'll just restore from backup, but that also carries problems because the backup has not been tested. And another big case that we see is, for example, accounting firms or even IT service providers. They can also get compromised, especially, usually it's phishing emails. And when they get compromised, they have a lot of clients. Usually they have a RDP access or something to the clients, so they don't have to send all the bills by email and all of the data. And when they get access to those, they can simultaneously access usually like over 3 companies or more. We have had some of those cases. They have fortunately not been used to the full potential and quite fastly detected, because one of the clients actually had a working detection system. So now on a bit more, maybe not as much talked about in the popular media, but one of the largest problems is actually security vulnerabilities. These are always found. There are quite active group of people that look into it. And there are always some new vulnerabilities coming up. Why it is a big problem is, for one thing, a lot of enterprises do not have a full view of all of their information systems and softwares that they use, especially when it's a long-standing company. They have a lot of legacy. There is not a full overview. There is not a strict patching policy, which opens them up to a oversight. And you can just miss one small thing, and it can be later used to gain access, especially because there's always scans going. They are scanning for everything, and especially the old vulnerabilities, they have never got out of style, because we quite often get incidents using a vulnerability that's like 3 years old, 4 years old. So, and the fog of war here is, it's unfortunate aspect that some companies, software producers, they try to downplay the vulnerability. They try to hide the magnitude. They are not forthcoming with information. For example, Ivanti, that was a very good example where it took them 2 months to fix the actual vulnerability. They had mitigations, but their communication was very lacking. And in general, some of our partners in European CERTs actually said that they will probably suggest their constituency to not use Ivanti anymore. So yeah, patching is very important, and you have to have an overview of what you have in your company. So some of the big thing in our work is notifications. We have a lot of data. We have a lot of feeds coming in. We scan ourselves, but there are also others that scan and actively share that data for free to those that want it. We take a lot of that data, we actually sort it, and we try to send it out. One problem is we do not always know the end user, because ISPs don't actually show all the end IPs, so we have to go through the intermediary. That is not always very successful. They do not always forward the data. And well, there's the other problem. People don't really quite always understand it, or they do not realize the magnitude of it. That is also a running trend in quite a lot of companies that get hit by, for example, compromised initially. They aren't hit by ransomware, for example, but then there's an initial period of great cooperation where they are very willing to listen, they implement our suggestions, but after a few days, when the high dies down, they start disappearing, because probably from the business side, someone said that, okay, that incident is done, we need to focus on the business. That is something we see quite often. And last point, writing notification is a craft in itself. We always try to find the best format of writing about some either vulnerability, or if you've been hit or compromised, or your computer is part of a botnet. There is a fine line of being sounding like a phishing, sounding too long, so some people don't even read it, so we need to always find the balance. Now, another topic that is, at least in my opinion, quite interesting is the issue with statistics. The statistics, not a lot of certs actually put out the full numbers, and that reason is because it's quite hard to measure it. We do put out a lot of numbers, but these numbers to also not paint the full picture. For example, quite often someone asks, looking at 2022 and 2023, we have so many more incidents. Does it mean our cybersecurity is going down? We have so many more incidents. Not necessarily. One part can be our awareness has increased. We get more notifications of what's happening. And big thing is that we cannot actually show all of the prevented incidents. If we actually implement some rules, intrusion detection systems and all of those firewalls, we see the attempts that they try to use it, but we can't really put it into a statistics that would be very helpful. So there is always a balancing game regarding that. And unfortunately, I have noticed that many vendors too love to put those, like for example, they get scanned and they block the scan and they put it like, yes, we have blocked a intrusion attack. So sometimes you have to keep it in mind when you read these statistics. Now, on the topic of advanced persistent threat, I put persistent in italics because that is the important part. When you get targeted by a state-backed actor, or as it calls advanced persistent threat, they will get in. They will find a way. They will keep phishing you until one of the employees slips up. And that is the part where you need to have a actual proper setup of logging and detection to actually find the attacker as soon as possible, because that cuts down what they can do. And in general, it's how to say it? Well, generally, that is the final stage that everyone should reach, but a lot of companies do not have the resource to actually build up from scratch proper infrastructure, build up network segmenting to actually stop any attackers from moving inside their network and detect them before they can actually breach it. Since in Estonia especially, we have a lot of micro companies and small companies. They quite often have 1 or 2 IT people, and then you should also have some security expert. So that becomes a big problem. So, of course, if you're talking about APTs, we can't leave Russia unmentioned. That is our very good motivator why we always deal with cybersecurity a lot. This I have borrowed a lot from the Ukrainian report regarding the Russian activity. They have some very good material, what have Russians tried. And I won't stop here for too long. You can read. I'm going to move on to a next point. This is one of the more interesting cases that happened in Ukraine, because a Russian group showcased a new ability to actually interfere with the physical world. This was achieved by gaining a foothold into a power company, quite likely from phishing, and because they did not have proper network segmentation, they managed to access the industrial control system. And using some, they most likely developed an exploit that specifically targeted those industrial control systems, and they caused most likely a circuit breaker, which caused a power outage. And they also timed it, so there was actually a coordinated missile strike, which is one of the bigger examples of how the cyber is combined with physical components in a war. And to cover their tracks, 2 days later, they triggered a Viper malware, which deleted all of the data on the system. But fortunately, there was still enough to make a bit of a forensic. So this is very major in the sense that we can see Russia has has ramped up their cyber activity. They have most definitely hired more people, and they are also working on new tool sets. They are combining old ones, and we can see that they are making use of those. Shortly about Chinese activities that we see in Estonia. They are very interested in Ministry of Foreign Affairs and embassies. They are quite active in spying for diplomatic information. They are also targeting a lot of European institutions. There have been several incidents there. And two cases we also saw was they tried to map out the police and border guard as well as the Ministry of Social Affairs IT systems. We do not know what their end goal was. We can only speculate. So far we have no real high-profile known success cases. And unfortunately for the private sector, we do not have enough data regarding that. So some of the key takeaways I would like to remind from this presentation is patching fast is the most, can help a lot, because most of the attacks we see, they aren't targeted. They are just attacks of opportunity, try-by opportunities. They try to target as much wide net as possible. They find a security vulnerability, they send phishing emails, they try to understand what company or who's the victim, and then quite often they actually sell it on in a dark web, or there is quite a lively market for it. So phishing, that is quite... Honestly, I think there's always at least one employee that's going to fall for a good phishing attack. So that has to be dealt with, it has to be reminded. I know it's annoying. I also have to fulfill some tests about how to spot a phishing. And finally, if you are targeted by advanced persistent threat, they will get a foothold, and then the only thing that's going to help you is a good logging system, a good network build-up, and being able to detect them fast enough. So that's...
Thank you to Joosep. A round of applause. We have a couple of minutes for questions, so does anybody have a question to Joosep? Don't be afraid to ask. If not, then next up, Kristo. Kristo is going to talk about unique cyber conscription. Let's give an applause to Kristo.
So, hello. I have asked to have at least 200 slides and 2 hours, so I have to kill all of you. So, what Cyber Command stands for? So, it's I'll just a little bit background. You understand what we are doing. Mostly, we have all the IT systems for defense forces, not just only the defense forces, but also all the MOD. Minister of Defense responsibilities. So we have network all over the world, starting from Afghanistan to Estonia, in Iraq. We have ships, planes, hospitals, military police, everything. So I think that we have all of different products from all over the IT companies. And sometimes we don't know how many stuff we have. And also have information operations and strategic communication. But this is not so interesting at the moment. Our structure, I will not explain everything. We have IT center, which is here. It's responsible for starting from help desk, and we also have a green equipment, radios. We are also responsible for that. And we have development department also in the IT center. Cyber and info operations, CERT and cyber operations. Unfortunately, I can't talk very much about what they are doing. Most of that is national secret, so it's just names in the screen at the moment. And we have cyber school. This school, which is we are teaching officers and non-governmental officers, strategical command center and support center. Most important for you maybe is the IT center, and we are serving all the MOD units, and mostly we are using conscripts. So if the Minister of Defense Hanno Pevkur, for example, have a problem with the printer. He's calling, and who is answering is Conscript. And mostly the Conscript is willing to have a solution of this problem. If he is not responsible or he is not able to do it, then we have our officers and NCOs. Also, we have to be ready to move from one place for another. For example, if our commander deciding that the Palo Alto is the best place for the command center, then we have like 12 hours to time and we are moving here. We need all the equipment, the connections and everything. And also we have a information systems development department. We have some information systems which is done by ourselves. The reason is that we have never been used the Estonian Defence Forces for as a purpose, because we have never been in the war. And I'm quite sure that after the first attack we have to change our plans, and I'm quite sure that we have to change also our information systems. And during this case we don't have time ask some private company, by the way, we have a war and we have to have changes in our information systems. Usually what's happened is that, okay, we have an offering for you, this takes like 2 weeks and so on, but after 2 weeks we get the second place in the war already. So we have to be very fast, and we are used to use our own personnel, and we are using our conscripts and we are using our reservists for that. And this picture is the way how our conscripts are serving in our unit. They all are conscripts. So it's their weapon is computer and keyboard, and we are using their brains, not the muscles. And if I'm going inside this room, I can't make difference who is conscripts, who is working there. And for me, it's like a startup company. Starting in the morning with a scrum way, like, okay, what we are doing today, what's the problem, who is doing, when we are ready, then we are testing, and it's going and going and going. And it's working very well. Okay, I asked for one conscript to write down what are his special weapons, what he is using. So this is the way what they are using. So it means that our conscripts, they have usually higher education. They are coming from Tartu University or Baltic, and very small amount of the conscripts coming directly from the high school, but mostly they have higher education. And that's all what I'm gonna talk about cyber and information operations. We have our own computer incident response capability, CERT-EE. We are using there also conscripts. And some of our conscripts that worked before in the SMIT or RIA, so they are coming in our unit. And after the conscription, they are moving back in the RIA and SMIT and so on. The conscripts who are serving in this unit, they all have a security license. We are starting to ask this like 3 months before the conscription, and they are also quite good and clever. Just to remember that conscription is compulsory in Estonia, and a lot of people who want to serve in defense forces in cyber command, the most want to come directly after the high school. And the first message is that just wait 3 years, go university, get education, and then come back. We don't need manpower, we need the brains. So yeah, and you have a better brains after the higher education. I think more than half our conscripts have a higher education. But yes, and they have to have a soldier basic course. This is compulsory for everyone. There is no difference. Are you serving in a command center, or are you in the Kuprianov infantry battalion? The 8 weeks is same, but after 8 weeks we have a totally different conscription. This is a typical cycle of the conscription. They have similar courses like infantry guys. They have a driving license if you need. We have NCO courses, but most of our service is practice. They are practicing and doing in this everyday life. And our big purpose is that we have a lot of IT guys in the reserve. So if we have a war, we have a lot of people who can have a wartime duties to do, and they are making own career after the conscription. For example, if there is help desk in conscription, but after the service in our unit, they are going to work some private company. They are already team leaders. Then in the war unit, they will also the team leaders. So they have a career. How we are find our conscription is that we have a good cooperation with the different schools. It's voluntary schools like we have in the Järvamaa Kutsehariduskeskus, Tallinna Tööstushariduskeskus and everything like this. And we have mixed this together with practice. And we have at the moment serving 16 conscripts who are at the same time conscripts and students. And the school planned practice time in the end of the school, but they didn't take the practice, but they start to serve as a conscript, and we're offering practice at the same time. So from a school point of view, they are students, they are in the practice. In our view, they are conscripts and they are serving. And in the end of the year, if they are finishing their conscription, the head of the school is coming also to our unit and giving the diploma of the school. Okay, you finish the school, and we are saying, okay, you finish the conscription. So they are sitting at the two seats at the same time. And our conscripts are very motivated. They have a selection. Are you sitting in the office with the computer, or you are in the field in the tent? So they are preparing our unit. And mostly we have units like in university you have like a fourth year. So you're finishing your Tartu University, and with your classmates or course mates, you are coming to serve together in our unit, and you are sleeping in the same room, you are working the same cabinets. So it's like you have like an extra year of the university. Yes. We are not, I've done this so far, but we are planned that if you have like retraining, then you don't need the uniform for retraining. And I hope that in the future we can say that the cyber conscription, you don't need uniform at all. Maybe you don't have to have a physical in Estonia. You can stay in Australia, but you have an internet, computer, and you have to follow our orders. And that doesn't matter where you are. So you don't need the weapon, but your weapon is your head and computer. That's it. So, okay.
Thank you, Kristo. Wait. Does anybody have questions?
I will stay here, so if you need to have a question.
Yeah. Do you have a question?
I will ask one. So, hello. Say you are a 35-year-old cyber expert interested in this. Is there a future where Cyber Command is looking forward to the volunteers that are older than 26, for example?
Yeah, we have to change our governmental rules because 27 is the last line for conscription. So it's if you are older than 27, it's not very easy to do it. We have to break the rule for that.
Another question?
Thank you. On a map you had an organizational structure. There was a ICT school or something. So what is it?
Yeah, it's basically if you are an infantry officer and you want to have like a signal officer, you understand what the radio is doing, how to use the phone cables and so on. They have special courses for that. So they are not like cyber courses, but more or less like signal courses, signal officer, radios, and classical analog systems and everything like that.
Thank you. Another question. Last one.
Thank you. Just wondering, do you do some sort of background check for these people who come to serve there?
Most of them have a national security clearance. It means that our kaitsepolitsei, whatever it is in English, they have all the background exactly the same like I have, they have also. So if you don't pass this clearance, you can't serve in our unit. It takes 3 months before the conscription.
Thank you, Kristo. And Kristo is staying here. If you have any more questions, then you can hit him up later. And next up, we have cyber insurance block, and starting off with Rainer.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rainer. I'm a lawyer, and law is exciting. So, question: please raise your hands. Who has a car? Good. Wealthy people. So please raise your hand how many of you have bought car insurance. Wealthy people. Now, how many of you have bought cyber insurance? 1, 2, 3. One has sold. One has sold. That's good. That counts for 2. Good. So I'm going to talk about cyber insurance from a really general intro perspective. Cyber insurance is a product that you buy if you want to cover the risks of cyber incidents, data breaches, and so forth. So just like car insurance, accident happens, you get paid. However, it's quite complex, and buying it is a pain. So my background is that I'm an attorney, but also I have served in-house at Scoro, the Estonian founded startup. And I have bought and advised buying cyber insurance. And this is proof that I'm able to wear a suit. Tough choices. When you buy insurance, then buying car insurance is easy. You understand that there's a car, there's a risk of accident, you hit a moose, and you either get paid or not. In reality, regarding cyber insurance, it's much more complex because if you have bought cyber insurance, then it's much more complicated. So, first of all, it starts with the complexity of the insurance product. It's not like car casco, where you can presume what it is. Most of the insurance products on the market are quite different, and the differences don't show so obviously. So it starts with understanding what your product is, what your business is, and whether it covers it well or not. Also, there are many choices regarding coverage. So it can include cybercrime, it may not. There's also many different exclusions there, and what you have to do there is you have to really deeply study into it. As I compared car insurance, it will take you either 2 or 20 minutes to make the choice. When I bought my first cyber insurance policy, I spent a week, 1 week, 5 days reading into it. The reason was that there were so many exclusions, so many different coverages so much weird language, which like it's if you have read one, then you understand it's different. Also, what's important when you buy it is you have to like be critical whether the insurance is asking right questions. So there's for example, a huge British insurance provider who still has the question in their policy documentation regarding what's your policy for fax. What's your fax policy for security in fax? So, and if you get this question in Estonia, you find it's quite ridiculous. But in some businesses, for example, in US, it's quite logical that it's still there. Weird, but life. And now, regarding exclusions, this is one of the most critical aspects that you have to read into, because if you think about car insurance again, so really usual exclusion there is if you get drunk, take the keys, drive the car into the ditch, the insurance may deny payment. Logical, yes. However, when you think about exclusions in cyber insurance, they might not be that obvious. So you really have to go into it and understand what's excluded. Considering the crowd here, I think I don't have to emphasize that like insurance is good, but cybersecurity is necessary. So it starts with a practical cybersecurity. So if you don't have your boxes ticked in real life, then cyber insurance will not help you. One large issue there is language. Lawyers have a saying that there's a language called legalese. It's an informal and technical language of legal documents or the secret language of lawyers. I would claim that there's a language called insurances, which is the same thing but for insurance. And the thing isn't that either lawyers or insurance providers would like to fool you. They are actually on your side. However, this is such a specific field that they have developed over centuries, their own language. And in layman terms, many times it's unambiguous. You simply don't get the point. So, in practice, when you buy cyber insurance, you have to plan quite a bit when you are buying it. Spend your time, and you simply cannot go like I was presuming that, or I was presuming this, because at the end of the day, if you sign a document that says that driving while drunk excludes the payment, then you have signed it. So I will give you really generally two examples of cases that have been publicly available. First one is Cottage Health versus Columbia Casualty. So the story was that there was a data breach, and the reason why the insurance provider denied payment was that they said that the client did not maintain the minimum security controls. So in practice, it's a really, really simple exercise. Usually, the insurance provider sends you a questionnaire where they ask you, please confirm what sort of controls and everything you have for this and this and that. You will confirm that we are doing well. Everywhere, perfect. ISO, SOC, you name it. Everything is perfect. However, when you have the data breach, and then investigation starts, And well, while the documentation is fine, that actually everything is not in accordance with the documentation. However, the policy presumed that you have to follow the specific requirements. So you have to understand what you commit to. And in this specific case, the parties agreed on a compromise. However, this is not always the case. Another example, a law firm actually got hit by a ransomware attack. Not specifically, I don't know how specifically it was done, but the point was that the insurer paid out 25K, which was the cost of rebuilding the system, essentially. However, the law firm was okay. However, we also covered, faced 700K of damages from hours that were not billed and so forward. So we want that as well. And there you have the specific issue with the insurance cover. Like, you have to know what you're buying. So if you are buying specifically just the service and the whole concept of them helping you rebuild the system, that's one thing. However, what's the real practical problem is business continuity. So if your manufacturer doesn't work for 6 months, the damages will be larger than rebuilding the system. So you have to know what you're buying. So, to conclude, know what you're buying. Do your homework. Second, exclusions have massive impact. Some examples. In real life, you have the exclusion of war and terrorism a lot. Who's our neighbor? A warmonger. So if you have a nice insurance provider, they will be reasonable with it. But they're not always nice. Nice like easy, but they're an agent. So also, don't think that it's their problem that their language is bad. It's very much your problem. Invest time into buying the buying process, and also invest in cyber insurance. Sorry, cyber security. Thank you.
Thank you, Rainer. Do we have any questions to Rainer? Holy shit, there's a lot of them.
Nice.
I'm gonna start with a new face.
Hey, hello, Rainer. I'm Alex. So basically, as I understood, your company provides the insurance, right? It's the first question, or just a part of a question?
No, we are lawyers. We provide legal services. IIZI helps with providing the insurance.
You just help insurance to like...
No, we help clients with the different kinds of problems, like if they buy insurance or like need assistance, or if they need privacy policies, so forth. So what a law firm does, that's what we do.
So you're on the client side, right?
Yes, client side. Yes.
Okay, got it. I thought you're on like on the insurance side, trying to...
I wouldn't do that.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
You had a question as well?
So maybe this is a better question for the next presenter, but I was wondering from your perspective, how popular is cyber insurance in Estonia, and is there some sort of segment that is more popular in?
Yes, it's popular among larger startups. Startups that are already A round, B round level, where they have investors who are really interested in there being insurance coverage. This becomes like a really basic hygiene question at some point.
Thank you. Next question, let's take later, because we're gonna move on with Helen. Thank you, Rainer. And Helen, she's gonna talk about cyber insurance in more depth.
The insurance industry actually felt pretty boring before I was introduced with cyber insurance, and the rest is the history. I have helped IIZI's clients to buy cyber insurance more than 5 years very actively. And the response to your previous question here, how popular it is, yes, for IT companies, startups, and large companies, it's very popular already. But many companies just don't see the need to cover the risks by cyber insurance. But taking the statistics, this is a research by one of the largest insurance companies in the world, Allianz, and they are doing research among companies every year. And it shows that still cyber risks and what companies are the most afraid of are cyber, this includes every kind of cyber attacks, data breaches, every kind of cyber incidents, fines related to cyber attacks and data breaches. So, and it has been #1 risk for like many years already. Who are buying cyber insurance? True that IT companies are very active. Their product is a bit different because IT companies face liability more than other risks because they are providing IT services outside, and their clients and third parties can suffer cyber attacks through this, and also like every kind of cyber incidents. If, for instance, if IT company makes an error in a code and systems provided to a client will not work. But yeah, actually cyber insurance affects every business who has data, digital systems, basically all. Yes, it's not relevant to the small companies who maybe only have like small revenue, or only one person like sitting in the woods doing some like craft work, but in general it affects everyone, and this is relevant to all companies. Cyber insurance market here in Europe is still growing, but worldwide it's quite big, and US is leading it. This is a forecast for 2032, which shows like very big growth, and it's expected. We expect to collect more premium and have more insurance policies on the market. And what's already in US will be very soon reality in Europe. But what is cyber insurance? It's very good that our first speaker spoke about the different risks, and generally speaking, everything related with such incidents will be covered. What insurance covers can be divided basically in two parts. This is like first-party losses, everything which is related to a cost company occurs after cyber attack or cyber incident and data breach. And the most important thing here is crisis management and costs related to this. This is like crucial and essential part actually. And we will take a look a bit closer what insurance company actually does for a company who is under attack. Data and systems all related to restorations, income loss, which is also like very big loss usually. It's even estimated to be the largest part of a cyber attack, because if business is down, company suffers income and profit loss. Cyber crimes, and some companies even cover costs related to technical failures, which is also includes user errors. If you have error or bug in your code, your company can be down also for some time. And also there are third-party claims, which are like everything related to claims which can be made against you if you do something wrong. And very often these are related to data breaches because someone's privacy is affected, and also like everything related to network security. Also, if a government wants to start investigation in your company, it can bring costs, including legal costs, fines and penalties. Of course, all of these are not covered, but GDPR is often asked if it's covered. Then yes, in the countries where fines and penalties are insurable, these can be covered and paid out by insurance company. And media liability, if you make an error on your web page or any other electronic means. So every kind of liability and claims against you. And how crisis response, I will not go into it very detailed, but as I told, this is like very crucial part, and this is where claims handling or claims process start for a company who buys cyber insurance. After a breach is discovered, this insurance company has given you a dedicated hotline number. You contact them, they have to respond you back in 2 or 4 hours, depending what you have agreed in an insurance contract. And they usually start hiring with several experts. Very often, the first person will be hired is someone who is managing this crisis. And they are going to arrange you legal advice, technical advice and help, and also everything related public relations, basically every help you need if you have a breach or a cyber attack. Because it's like very stupid if a company does not know what to do and will not act very fast. Because after like 3 days, even after 1 day, the cyber criminals can be lost, I don't know where. And after this crisis is over, everything slows a bit down because insurance company will take an action to start calculating how much they should pay you for this incident or attack. And it's also, it can take quite long. It needs also different experts. Insurance companies nowadays, let's see, I will skip this one, but the insurance company has gone already further because there are like several services they will provide before you are buying, during you have insurance policy in place, and after that. So this is like also very, very good example from last data breach we had here in Estonia. If I assume that if they had cyber insurance policy in place, insurance company would have monitored every kind of weakness they had in their systems and could have warned them. And I think like very shortly, that's it from my side. Thank you, and I hope you have further questions for me. If not today, then later.
Thank you. We have time for one question.
Yes, so you mentioned the countries where the fines and penalties can be covered by insurance. Is
Yes.
Estonia one of them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but there are many countries where it's not allowed to pay fines from insurance companies' point of view. So, like France and UK, for instance.
Thank you again. And another question. Other question we're going to have later when we're having something to eat and something to drink. But now let's give it up to Helen. And welcome Martti. Martti is going to talk about InfoSec event BSides Tallinn that takes place in September. So floor is yours.
All right, thanks. I have always admired this cyber meetup by RIA for one certain aspect. And as the last one on the stage today, I can't express how happy I am that I am actually not between you and your beers here. So they are doing one thing at least, very right. Can we have a round of applause to the organizers? And thanks for the beers. So at BSides, it was 2 years ago when we were putting our heads together and thinking, how can we further increase the satisfaction level of the conference goers, and how can we increase the NPS? So we thought of the same thing, and since last year, beer is available throughout all the conference day, so don't miss out. Anyway, who has been to BSides? All right, so there are some people who has been presenting there. Awesome, also some. Cool, so why I'm here today, I don't actually know why they sent me, but why I'm here, a few things I wanted to tell you about the event. And first of all, call for papers is on. It's a small community event, very friendly. Everyone is really, really friendly there. So if you haven't been on stage and you want to say something, you have something interesting to share, don't be shy. Come up on stage and let that be your first. If you are already also like a presenter, and join up. If you have something to say, we have a committee who will evaluate which ones get on stage, and this might be your chance. So until the end of July, please submit your papers if you want to come and talk. The other things, tickets. If you want to go to the conference, the tickets are on sale. The community tickets are actually, I think, already almost gone, so be quick. But the supporter tickets are still there. No conference can be done, like a community conference can't be done without volunteers. So if you want to take part of actually organizing a really awesome conference, feel free to write to volunteers and BSides.ee and give yourself up. Last year we had an idea that maybe we should get a professional photographer to the event so we could actually have pictures that we can show to promote BSides. And we had the photographer joining us. And she said that this is the best conference she have ever been to and wants to be the official photographer of BSides and will be there each year. So it's actually a really nice community as well, the organizers. So join up if you want to volunteer. And sponsor slots, almost gone. I think 1 or maybe 2 are still there. So if you want to come up to the conference with your company to promote, to hire, whatever, join up and get an email to info@bsides.ee and you will be heard. Right? Thanks.
Thank you, Martti. And with this, you can ask Martti questions later. And with this, we're gonna end the Cyber Meetup for today. Now starts the hangout part. Have some drinks, have some conversations, and we're gonna see you later in autumn. Someday October. Yeah, I know. And we have still up the questionnaire. Scan the QR code. Maybe you get infected with the virus. Maybe you can give us feedback. It's a 50-50 chance. Try it out. Let us know. And till next time. Thank you.